Hello and welcome to the Reading Entertainment Podcast, episode 381 for January 1st, 2023. Apologies for not having any podcast last week. I decided not to do a podcast, and I made the effort to not tell Aroah or Connor anything about it at all. That's what happened. And I am joined, of course, by Andrew Aroah McFain.
I am here at the moment.
And Connor the Cyberpunk Monk Besh.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry New Year.
And of course, I am your host, Nathan Reeton Spruth. Hey, Aroah, Connor, where can we find you guys?
You can find us at Aroah.website. And one of those links that I want to draw your attention to is the link for Clinton's Core Classics, A Rise of the Rune Lords First Edition Actual Play Podcast. And if you don't want to go to Aroah.website to find it, you could find that anywhere fine podcasts are found. We're everywhere.
We are.
Why haven't you started listening yet?
We are everywhere. We actually, not here, not on the Reading Entertainment Podcast, but on the Clinton's Core Classics, we're doing all right.
We're doing pretty good. Yeah. Spotify says we're on the 10% of people, shows that are listened to for our category.
What category is that?
It's either role play or actual play, so depending on what it is, we could have a whole lot of different categories we're fighting for attention with.
That's really cool. Of course, you can find me, Nathan Reeton Spruth. I'm everywhere at Reeton, so at Reeton on Twitter. And the big one is, I'm on Twitch Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific time to 9 p.m. Pacific time. And that's twitch.tv/Reeton. Go over there, give me a follow. Trying to get up to 1,000 followers at some point in my life. That's my goal. Before I die, I would like 1,000 followers on Twitch. I can't, it's always like, before I die, before I inevitably fall down a well or something, I would like to have 1,000 followers on Twitch. Anyway, hey, Connor, since it appears that Aroah's busy, instead of what games you played this week, I would like to know, we did this last year as well, what are your one or two favorite games of 2022?
So I am prepared for this question. I'm just not prepared for this question like this second. So pardon me as I stall and get my list up. Okay, the honorable mention that I gotta bring it up is Space Station 13. Wow, what a fun engine! What a great storytelling tool. I can't recommend it to people enough, and it seems like there've been a lot of new people, at least on the server that I usually play on. So if you're looking for something to do, dip your toe into it. Let me review my list and choose a couple of these because I figured I'd be just going over the list. Honorable mention to Majora's Mask, which is a very fun game to sequence break. Also, it gave me an excuse to pull out my 3DS again this year, which, having gone from the Switch to the Steam Deck, was kind of nice to go backwards to something that you could still fit in your pocket.
Yeah, that's always nice. You could just get some like cargo pants.
Yeah, let me bust out the Jinko jeans again.
just to carry around your Steam Deck.
I'm going to mention Cyberpunk 2077 again. I know that didn't come out this year, but it got fixed this year.
That's good.
Apparently, when I say this year, I mean last year. And apparently this year there's going to be some DLC that's going to make things fun. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think they said they were going to have a lot of DLC, and then it didn't perform quite as well as they were hoping.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. And so they have kind of pulled back, and they're like, we're only going to release this. This is our last DLC, and then we're going to move on to something else. So,
and then as far as the games that are on my list here, the only one that I really want to mention is Vampire Survivors. Holy cow, is that game good. For the low price of like $2. I mean, we got it for free, but you could get it yourself for like $2. I can't recommend it enough. Hours of fun. It might be free on mobile too, so if you're If if you need to try it first, that might be more up your road. Other than that, Warhammer, Shadowrun, Pathfinder.
Those are all tabletop games, though.
They're games. They're great games. We talk about games on this podcast.
We do. And Aroah, what are your one or two favorite games that you've played this year?
I mean, I also got to put it out there for Vampire Survivors. Like that's without a doubt. I would vote that as game of the year. Absolutely.
That's good.
While the gameplay may not be particularly complex, it has a surprising degree of depth for how simple it is, and the level of replayability without being boring is incredible. Like, as somebody who drops games that are actually like, AAA, very engaging experiences after a few hours because I get bored, like Vampire Survivors, I have 75.5 hours in. And I have not even once considered the idea of like, well, that's it, I'm never playing it again. Like, it's just fantastic. And I would say for the other thing that really surprised me, of course, I'm going to say Sonic Frontiers. I was expecting that game to be shit. I was expecting Sonic 06 again, and I got something that was altogether different and a very just it felt like exactly how the developers were trying to market it whenever it was on its way out, was saying that it feels like a new chapter in the Sonic franchise and definitively like the foundation of the rest of the series, at least for the next several years. I think it's an even if it's not on par with the boost gameplay being a huge change for the series, it is a bigger paradigm shift than what Unleashed did for the series. I am very excited to see where that takes them.
Unleashed was the Werehog one, right?
Right.
Okay.
But that was also, more importantly, was the one where they introduced the boost gameplay that I'm not a huge fan of, or at least I haven't been until I played Frontiers. And then, of course, the soundtrack is fucking amazing. And even if you don't like Sonic games, you should at least peruse the soundtrack because Sonic games always have good soundtracks.
Yeah, Sonic games are really. I mean, they're hit and miss, but I tend to like when I'm playing Sonic. Even the bad ones, I'm like, okay, the standard gameplay is fun, and then I set it down and I'm like, I have no desire to play that ever again.
Well,
and
I have to disappear now.
Okay, and I will talk to Connor for a little bit while Aroah pretends to do his job. So
Man, I can't crap talk Sonic. I've 100%ed both of the Sonic Adventure games on Steam. I love those games. I haven't played the new Sonic. Like, I know Aroah always talks so great about it. It just doesn't really look like the kind of game that I would be interested in.
you don't want Sonic as done by Ubisoft?
No.
You just want the Sonic Adventure type gameplay.
The Sonic Adventure formula is pretty. It like every zone kind of having like there were huge maps. You could go fast. You could do
Yeah.
the things you want to do with Sonic. Sometimes the map even works for you, and you don't just go flying for no reason.
So
Not all the time, but sometimes.
So as I'm not, I'm gonna pick a couple games to talk about, but I just want to say I've completed my goal. I was able to beat last night. So on Friday, I'm sorry I played without you. First
I
off,
forgive you.
I beat Halo Infinite by myself, and I beat Marvel's Midnight Suns. So that brings the total games I've beaten this year up to 27. And I'm gonna just list the games, and then I'll tell you how many hours I played, and then you can judge me. So we got Pathfinder: Wrath of the Righteous, Mass
Hey, I'm
Effect.
playing that right now.
Yep, Mass Effect, God of War, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Fallout, the original Fallout, Weird West, Life is Strange True Colors, Batman Arkham Knight, Warhammer 40K Space Marine. You like that game.
I do.
TMNT, Shredder's Revenge, Trek to Yomi, Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth, Vampire Swan Song, As Dusk Falls, Dying Light 2 Stay Human, Punch Out, Halo 3, Final Fantasy 4, Halo 3 ODST, Super Hot, Final Fantasy 5, Halo 4, Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 12, Mass Effect 2, and of course Halo Infinite and Marvel's Midnight Suns. Total playtime 639.5 hours, which ends up being around 26 days of gameplay.
That's a lot of video. I'm not envious. I'm just jealous.
That's
I wish I could play that many video games, but I'm happy my friend was able to get that much gaming in.
yeah. So, the games that I would like to talk about, one game that surprised me, and I think it surprised you when you were watching it, is Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that game was way better than it should have been. We spoke about it on the podcast, but it was a pretty good game, and it's like they took the Marvel Avengers formula that they had set up with the live service, and then cut out all the live service stuff and just made it a really good single player game.
That's pretty fair.
Yeah, and I beat that game this year. I think it came out last year, but it was still really fun. I enjoyed it, and of course, one thing to say about Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, the movies and the game, is that the soundtrack is pretty fucking awesome. Just a bunch of
Yeah,
80s
soundtrack is
music.
good. I know that you are probably a big fan of Midnight Suns. I didn't really like it that much.
It was all right. I liked the combat. I didn't really care for the story of Midnight Sun.
Definitely.
I think it was really weird. It's a really weird disconnect because I just wanted, I just wanted to do XCOM with Marvel characters, and they have that. A little bit of card system stuff and all that jazz, but other than that, like the fact that you're creating like your own Mary Sue character, and like you're becoming like, it's so weird to see Wolverine, and you like have a cutscene with Wolverine, and he's like, "Hey man, I haven't had a good friend like you in a long time," and I'm like, "Dude, I just want you to kill things for me, okay? I don't really want to be your friend. I just want to play the game."
I just met you, bub, but you're my favorite person in the whole world.
Exactly. But I would say Dying Light. My second game would probably be Dying Light 2: Stay Human. That game was really fun. From what I understand, it's not as good as the first Dying Light game, but I never played the first Dying Light game, so Dying Light 2 is pretty good to me.
They took out a lot of what people liked from Dying Light 1, mostly the customization.
Yeah, and you can't, like, they don't have any guns.
Or the crafting, more specifically, not customization.
They had crafting, but I guess it wasn't as in depth.
It's significantly dumbed down.
Yeah. And of course, I played a bunch of Final Fantasy games that I had never played before. The only main series Final Fantasy game that I haven't beaten now is Final Fantasy 2. And as I said, I don't know if I'm going to beat that. It doesn't.
2 is famously easy to beat because you can exploit. I want to say it's either its defense system or its darkness system. One of those two doesn't work right in that game.
A lot of things don't work right in that game because it just they did like the old school, or not old school, but they did like what they ended up trying to do, and they did it better in Oblivion, I believe, where as you use things they level up. So the more you jump, your agility goes up in Oblivion. And they did that with Final Fantasy 2. However, they did it poorly, where the best thing to do would be to just like smack on your teammates and then heal them, and that will like raise your defense and your healing capabilities.
Well, yeah, you gotta spar before you're ready to go into a real battle.
Yeah, but you have to get into a real battle and then beat the crap out of your friends.
Look, adrenaline gets the blood flowing, the thrill of the fight, the heat of the moment, the final countdown. All of those 80s songs are basically
Yeah.
about that one moment.
Oh, okay. And of course, I want to pat myself on the back that I was able to beat Mike Tyson in or Mr. Dream in Punch Out. I was very happy about that because it's a very difficult fight. I don't know if you've ever played and got to Mr. Dream or Mike Tyson, but it's a pain in the butt. It's what that is.
No, I've never gotten that far. Fortunately, Punch Out was a little after my time.
Yeah, I played it when I was a kid, so I'm actually fairly competent at it. Not amazing, but I'm competent. I can get through the game. We're gonna move on though, and we're gonna talk about some news stories. First things first, the FBI is advising all users to install ad blockers. This is from TechSpot. Before we go into reading the story, a while back, a long time ago, I had said that, for YouTube videos, I tend to disable ad block for YouTube, at least back in the day. And I have come to the point where I have enabled ad block for YouTube for one specific reason, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but they put way too many fucking ads in YouTube now.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty ridiculous.
Like every 3 minutes, they're like, "We got a new ad. Or if you're watching a top 10 video, it's like every other, it'll be like on point 8, point 6, point 4, there will be a new ad that's playing." And I'm like, guys, seriously, I don't want this to be like watching TV where we get an ad every few minutes.
No, it's worse than television. Way worse.
I would still say it's not worse than television because TV tends to have longer ads still. So you'll go a few minutes in television and it'll cut to 3 minutes of ads and then cut back.
It is nice that usually 50% of the time there's a skip button.
Yeah.
And it's nice that you could choose the program that you're watching at least, I suppose.
Yeah, it's just so I have to say that while I don't like not supporting the creators, I think that the amount of ads that they have on YouTube is just ridiculous now. And it's
okay.
annoying.
Everyone has Patreon now. They'll live.
I know. They'll be fine. So, from this TechSpot story, it says here, ad blocking is perhaps one of the most controversial aspects of browsing the web today. Users agree that it declutters web pages, but they also deny ad revenue to many sites that need it, like us. Like TechSpot. However, law enforcement agencies admit that ad blocking also mitigates some security risks that online advertising introduces. So the FBI is like, hey, if you want to get away from these security risks, which we will talk about in a couple stories, you might want to enable ad block. Because they sometimes people will put malware in ads.
Mm-hmm.
And also those pop-ups. Remember pop-ups? Oh, those were annoying. Where they'd be like, hey, you're the 1 millionth visitor to the site. Click on this button. It's really annoying. It says here users should only look for software on trusted sites. If you aren't sure whether you can find a software developer's authentic websites, publications like TechSpot host verified, safe downloads for a variety of programs. But yeah, so do you use AdBlock? Are you still on the AdBlock train?
I am still on the ad block train. Sorry, YouTube videos that admittedly I don't watch that much anymore. I'm going ad free.
I still watch YouTube videos. I have uBlock Origin still. I do. I've thought about it. So on Plex, you can put a pre-roll video on Plex. And I've thought about putting a pre-roll video on my Plex to be like, hey guys, go and watch my Twitch. Make sure you're subscribed. But the only people who watch my Plex are you and Ash, so it might not work out that well. But yeah, so use AdBlock if you're worried about, people tracking you. I think it will. What's the Google one? DoubleClick? Is that the big one that you'll talk about? Or you'll search for something I'm looking for CD players or something.
My
And
gut
then
is saying it used to be AdSense, but it might be DoubleClick now. That sounds familiar too.
I think so. AdSense is how they get paid. AdSense is how, like, if you're watching YouTube and they play an ad, AdSense is how the people get money.
Okay.
And
And
then
then DoubleClick is the
that's
the
the
actual
cookie.
ad promoting service. Yeah.
Yeah. And what that'll do is it will track your search history. So if you look for a boombox or something, and then you'll see ads starting to come out for, like, you're like scrolling through Facebook and it'll be like, "Oh, we see you liked boomboxes. Do you want this boombox?" And that's really annoying. And they've got to track your text messages too, because I know I messaged, like, our good pal Roguish Bard, and we mentioned something about, like, boomboxes or something like that. I forget what it was. And then both of us started seeing ads for that particular thing we talked about. And I was like, that is fucking creepy. So,
It sure is weird living in a dystopia. Hey, are you
yeah,
okay? Is there like a bomb ticking off behind you?
that is an instant pot going off.
Ah,
So yes, it is a bomb going off. Let's move on. Let's talk about. I think this is the one you brought up. We're gonna do this a little out of order from what it says down below. Of course, you can find all the news stories we talked about down below. This is from Ars Technica. LastPass, I believe, is the one
yes,
you
yes,
you
yes.
you spoke of. It's
This,
kind of goes in with what we were talking about. There was a data breach.
yeah, we've known about this data breach. At least the last pants has disclosed it back in August. And back when they initially talked about it, they're like, "Don't worry about it. The passwords aren't gone. Encrypted passwords aren't gone. Personal info is not gone. It's just source code." And it turns out that that's all totally incorrect. But that readers want to actually read the article, they can go ahead and go to the link in the description of this video. But basically, what it turns out is that company names, end user names, billing addresses, email addresses, telephone numbers, and IP addresses that customers used as pass on have all been compromised.
Awesome.
Hackers also have been able to obtain a copied backup of customer vault data and whatever unencrypted data is there, such as like website URLs and encrypted data fields like website usernames and passwords, secure notes, and form filled data. So, long story short, if you use LastPass, chances are your data is gone. Not gone as in, you don't have it anymore. Gone as in everyone has it anymore. Technically, it's more secure than it's ever been.
Yes, you are correct. But the thing is that I think I deleted my account. I'm not sure. When they've changed their policy a while back, where it used to be that free users could have it on their mobile devices, and they could have it on their desktop devices. And then a while back they decided, hey, we're going to change that so you can only have your access to your stuff on one device at a time. And I was like, well, that's dumb. I don't want to pay $10 a month or whatever you're charging for this. So I moved on, and I copied all my data over to Bitwarden, and I believe I deleted my LastPass account. And of course I have changed lots of passwords since then. So hopefully nothing too bad happens with my data that might be out there. But this is also kind of like, hey, use two-factor authentication whenever you can as well. Don't
Yep.
yes, a password manager is really helpful, but if you can, having a form of two-factor authentication, whether it be SMS, which is not the best, or something like a Google Authenticator, at least having that second factor of authentication will definitely help you in a situation like this where all your passwords might be gone, and then you'll start, like, every once in a while I get a random email that's like, hey, somebody's trying to log into your Google account. And I'm like, oh, well, thankfully I have two-factor on my phone, and I can say, no, that wasn't me. What's your favorite type of two-factor authentication?
Anything that generates a number based off of a seed that whatever the client service is using has that same seed. Like Google Authenticator, Mobile Iron, I think, has something like anything that's not just I'm gonna send you an email, okay? Okay, you said okay on the email, we're good.
Yeah,
It's just
that's
not enough anymore.
SMS isn't great, but you are correct. Email, like them emailing you and being like, "Hey," definitely not the best. Definitely probably the worst.
If somebody's already compromised that one account, chances are all of them are compromised.
Yeah. I think my favorite is one that costs money. It's a YubiKey. I really like YubiKeys. If you've ever used them.
Not personally.
They are basically what you said, where it's a seed, but it's a physical object that you plug into your computer. And
Yeah, okay, yeah.
then you can press there's like a button or like a haptic switch in there, and you tap it and it will generate that code for you. We've used them quite a bit when I worked at Facebook, where in order to sign into the VPN, you'd have to use your YubiKey. And that was really helpful and way more secure, because then it's just, not only do they have to have, like, they can't intercept like the SMS message, and they can't look at your email. And if your Google Authenticator gets compromised, which hopefully will never happen, but that could also be, hacked as well, or if somebody grabs your phone. But having that physical device that you have to plug into your computer just makes it that much more secure. Anyway, yeah, if you have LastPass, I would advise you to go and change
Update
all of your
some passwords.
passwords, all of
Right.
them, every password.
Single one.
That sucks.
This isn't necessarily something that the article brought up, but it is something I want to just. Hi everyone, this is Connor with the Read and Entertainment Show. We've had some laughs today, but we want to get serious here for a moment. It's time to stop giving all of your information to services that you use.
Yeah.
The least that you can give them, the better. I think I'm going to genuinely be considering like guerrilla mail services in the future for services. Like, it's getting bad. I can't trust anything because everything feels like it's getting leaked nowadays.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, hackers are smart, right? Like, they're really, really smart on how to do things. And also you can go to, it's pwned, right? Have I been
Have I been
pwned?
pwned?
And you can put in your email address and see if you've been, quote, pwned.
It'll tell you which passwords have been compromised, and if you've recognized one and you haven't updated your password on there in a while, maybe it's time to give it a shot.
Oh no, my Trillion account looks like it was compromised. Trillion.
I'm sure you still use that one a lot.
Oh no, my Tout account. Do you even know what Tout is?
I don't know what Tout is now.
It was TikTok before TikTok, basically.
Oh, you mean Vine?
Well, it was Vine after Vine, but TikTok before TikTok. Oh no, Roll20 got compromised in 2018.
Oh shucks.
Yeah.
See what I mean? Like,
one that we actually use. Tout. So thankfully, Tout is dead, and it was it was heavily promoted by WWE for a little bit, because I think they were an investor in it. But basically, it was just like short form, like 10 second to a minute videos that you would post things to. And yeah, that's funny. Anyway, I'm gonna look through this, and I guess I have to go change some passwords. Anywho, we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about this is one I saw. I was just looking, browsing my phone, and I thought that this was hilarious. So I want to talk about it.
See, that could be either of them.
Yeah,
that's the two stories that are left.
It's true, but this one's the Office Space inspired one.
Yeah.
And apparently there's a guy who trying to skim some money from his company. This is actually from CNN.com. I think, is this the first time we've ever used a story from CNN?
It's very possible.
In our 6 years of doing podcasts.
It's
Uh,
happened. We're finally getting the big sources.
yeah. So there was a person named, let me see if I can find his name. Oh man. Erm Castro. His last name was Castro. We're going with that. Worked,
Hermenildo Valdez Castro.
yeah. So Castro, 28, worked for an online retailer, Zoli. Zoli? Zolili? Zolili. Zolili.
Zolili, it looks like.
Yeah. As a software engineer from December 2018 until he was fired in June of 2022, I assume. So he'd been there for a few years. Starting in the spring of 2022, he began editing Zolili's software code in ways that allowed him to steal from the company. Going down, it says a OneNote document on. First off, if you're gonna make things like this, don't write down your crimes, and especially don't write them down on your work laptop. But
Right.
anyway,
Don't write them down on the release product.
yeah. It says a OneNote document on Castro's work laptop called Office Space Project was found through the investigation, and in it, a scheme to steal shipping fees was outlined. So that I guess he was stealing some shipping fees. It says the police report also notes the plot of the movie Office Space revolved around engineers who produced a plan to move fractions of cents into personal bank accounts. Castro was contacted by police and arrested on June 21st. On that date, he worked there until June. So he was fired in June. So it must have been fired after he found out, or after the company found out what happened. It says Castro was contacted by police and arrested on June 21st. On that date, he spoke with detectives after being read his rights. During the interview, he confirmed that he named his scheme to steal from Zolili after the movie Office Space. Castro also told authorities he placed orders for over 1,000 items that were shipped to his house, and that they were part of a testing process that Zolili was aware about. But he claimed that there was a script that he was supposed to run shortly thereafter that would essentially cancel the order and ensure that orders did not process. Actually, this is something that happens quite often. I've had friends who have designed websites for people, like businesses, and they do like run orders, right? They need to test to make sure that the ordering system is working, and then afterwards they'll go there and cancel those orders. So that's not really nefarious. The nefarious part was that he didn't actually cancel the orders. So the quote here said, he said the test orders would have been billed to a personal credit card, thus his changing the items' prices as to avoid incurring a large expense on his personal credit card. So that is another thing that is often used, where like I had a friend who worked for the website designing, and she was building the website designing. I'm good at grammar today, but she was designing a website. She put in a code, created a coupon that would give 100% off the order, make the order, and then cancel the order. That way she wasn't charged anything. And then he said he forgot to run the script, therefore the orders actually shipped. He admitted that he did not ever notify Zolili staff of the orders being delivered. So he got the stuff and then just didn't tell Zolili that the orders were there. When asked why he never returned the items to Zolili, he said that once they fired him, his opinion was fuck them.
That is very fair. No, I think he has a point, actually.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So yeah, he's probably getting put in jail for a while. On December 20th, Daniel Satterberg, the prosecuting attorney for King County, filed charges of theft in the first degree and identity theft in the first degree in the Superior Court of Washington for King County, says against Castro. As of Friday afternoon, the King County Superior Court Clerk Office website did not list an attorney for Castro. So, I mean, he's a software engineer, smart guy, was able to he got away with it for like 4 years.
Right. It's I think the correct thing to do here is lawyer up and be like, obviously there wasn't a supervisor like overwatching this project. Obviously they weren't invested in this lost capital. Like any logical project manager should make a program like a product that's essentially a dummy product. And you test with that. Why are you testing with actual collateral unless you don't actually care about that collateral?
I also wonder what Zulily sells.
Let's find out.
It's a bit of everything. I'm just looking here. It looks like they sell electronics. On the front page, they sell shoes and workout stuff. So it's like Amazon. They sell a bit of everything.
Zulily, go fun shopping, save big.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably fine. It's probably a fine place to work. But yeah, I like that this happened, and the whole reason I wanted to talk about this was because of that last quote where it says, "And his opinion was fuck him."
He has a very good point. Like, if you're gonna fire someone and you haven't like confirmed the status of that project is now kind of on the responsibility of whoever like is the firing manager. No?
Yeah, I also wonder how, like, he had 1,000 items. I wonder that's a lot of packages to arrive at your house.
It says that they do like bulk sales and shipping, so they probably have all this stuff just sitting on a skip waiting to get sent out.
That's fair.
And then yeah, for a couple of months, whoever his landlord was like, "What the hell? What am I supposed to do with all this?"
Yeah, so don't steal from companies. Well, don't steal large items from companies or $300,000 from companies.
Don't steal in bulk.
Yeah, like
As we always say at the Reading Entertainment Channel.
yeah,
Steal in moderation.
Steal when you're not going to get caught. And to be fair, if he would have been smarter about this, he might have been able to, like, if he would have left in like 2021 and like disabled cleared everything off of his computer and cleared that code, he might have got away with it. I think that's a big thing if you are stealing like this. A lot of people get greedy and they just continue going on with the scheme instead of being like, all right, I made $100,000 off this scheme. I'm out. They just say, hey, I haven't been caught yet, which means I'm not going to get caught at all. And so, I mean, how many people actually do get away with this yearly, though? Probably a lot.
Probably a lot, yeah. It's usually people who could probably control their vice, like, and you're absolutely right. People who get a rush from like bumming something from work or whatever, like, you gotta like take your wins when you can get them. You can't manipulate the system and take thousands of products.
No, and we've spoken about it before, like, I don't know if we've spoken on the podcast, but being IT, like, you know, adapters and stuff just mysteriously arrive at our house. I don't know how it happens, but like sometimes we need a charging cable and that ends up in our backpack. But you know, that's the company knows that, like, okay, if you're IT, you're gonna need an HDMI cable, so you take that from the storage room. Don't steal like hundreds of thousands of, like, I'm not gonna be able to grab a MacBook and just throw it in my bag and walk out. No matter how much I want to.
I, for one, as a security guy, have never needed an HDMI cable. I have a tote full of just cables. Just I'll never use them. I'll probably end up throwing them away someday. But if someone needs an HDMI cable, come to me. I'm your boy.
Yeah, I've had times where I've had like roommates come to me and be like, "Hey, do you have this obscure cable?" And I'm like, "No, why would I?" Actually, yeah, let me go check. And then like 5 minutes later, I'm like, "Here you go." So yeah, I also have just tons of cables laying around. Anyway, we're gonna move on to our last story. Is this another one you brought up, or was it Aroah?
This is the one that Aroah brought up, but it does make me laugh just as hard as the previous story did.
Good. So talking about money being stolen? We're talking about stolen? I don't know. Epic Games, maker of Fortnite, to pay $520 million to resolve an FTC allegation. Did you actually read through the story? Because I can say I didn't. I did not.
I could say that I did not, and I was hoping Aroah would hold our hand as we go through it, but now we get to read it for the first time live in front of the audience.
That's
Uh,
the general rule of here at Reading Entertainment. As is tradition, we read the stories the day of.
the short the short version of the story is FTC has ruled that Fortnite has violated the Online Protections for Children uh, Act. I don't know what the name of the act is, and tricked players into making unintended purchases, which is
Oh,
bad, gummy.
yeah, that sounds about right. Like it is a I wouldn't say it's tricksy, but I would say that it is a marketplace that I could see kids being like, "Oh, I just want to pay, I just want to buy this." About 10 years ago now. I used
Oh,
to
it takes 20,000 points to buy a character, and the most you could purchase is 18,000 coins.
and then you have to buy
It's
2 sets and then you have more left over. Anyway, um I about 10 years ago I was living with my sister and my nephew had a cell phone and for some reason she had added her debit card to his cell phone and he was 8 at the time. So he was playing some games on his phone and he died in the game and he was like, "Well, I want more lives." And so he ended up spending like $45 on this one game just buying lives. And my sister found out and she texted me and she's like, "Hey, take nephew's," or actually she called me and she's like, "Hey, take nephew's phone and he doesn't get it anymore for a while." And I was like, "Okay." And she told me what happened. And he came home and he's like, "Hey, where's my phone?" And I just looked at him and I'm like, "No, you don't get your phone right now." And he just looked at me like that oh shit look. Like he knew what was going on. Um and my sister thankfully had time to cool down before she came home cuz otherwise I wouldn't have a nephew anymore. And yeah, I could see kids doing that with Fortnite, right? Like my nephew knew what he was doing. He knew he was spending money. But I could see kids who just don't get it. Like they're just playing, like they could be playing on their parents' account or they could just be playing on their computer and be like, "Oh, I just want to man, that Goku skin is really cool. I'm just going to buy that." And then boom, they've spent 20 to 40 bucks on a character skin.
This is
Uh
kind of a non sequitur. It reminds me of a time back in high school, hanging out with a buddy, and we're like talking about a movie. He goes to Amazon and he just buys the movie so he could watch it. And it was like, that was 22 bucks. You didn't ask anyone. You just kind of did that. Is that okay? It's like, if you're in a situation where you can just impulsively buy movies like that, good power on you. But like you were saying, a kid might not care. That might just be someone's problem for the end of the month.
a kid might not care or a kid might not know too. Like
Both are equally as destructive potentially, and
yeah.
in this case, that's why Fortnite's getting fined.
Yeah, I would like to say that most kids would understand that they're spending money and that they shouldn't. But I'm sure there are people who grow up in situations not like ours, because I'm pretty sure we grew up at least in similar WePo situations
Yeah,
where we didn't have a lot of money, and so we always thought about like if we went to the store, like how much is this going to cost? Or thankfully we didn't really have to. I definitely didn't have to deal with online purchases as much when I was a kid because we didn't have online purchases when I was a kid. You are younger than I am, but I'm sure you were still in the situation where you knew that things cost money and that you didn't have a lot of money.
right. You'd get like one DLC pack for Halo a year,
Yeah.
and maybe the map pack for Call of Duty for every other year.
Yeah.
Other than that, you didn't really need to make online purchases. Now it's like, you played for 45 minutes, give us $10.
Yeah. And so I could also see like people who aren't in our situation. So they've they kind of have more middle class or upper middle class families where they're just like, hey, you know, my parents have money and I'm going to spend that. Or they don't even think about it when they press that button to get that new Goku skin or whatnot. And I could see that being why the FCC is charging them $500 million for this, which is probably nothing to Epic anyway.
Listen, when every Fortnite dance is $9.99, you're gonna make a lot of money.
Is it? I have no idea how much a
I have no
Fortnite dance
idea.
is.
I'm not anywhere near that environment.
I have absolutely no idea. Anyway, that's our show for the day, and I think Aroah left. I'm not
He
sure.
sounded like he had some things to deal with, so we love and forgive Aroah.
And yeah, we thank you for being here, Aroah. If you're still here, sounds like he is off fixing some issues with his work. So we'll be back. He'll be back next week, hopefully, where we can actually, you know, talk to him and hear the kitty purr. I want to thank you for being here, Connor.
I was here. It was a pleasant conversation.
Yeah, and we'll be back next week talking about more stuff. Everybody have a good New Year. Everybody, you know, do your resolutions or whatever. I didn't make any resolutions. Did you make a resolution?
If you need a New Year's an excuse to start improving yourself, you're an asshole. Just do it.
All right,
Just do it.
I will be less of
Don't
an
let
asshole
your
this year.
dreams be dreams.
I will buy Twitter this year. Thankfully, the stock is dropping. I might be able to afford it here soon. Anyway, I will see you next week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.